This is Survivor Talk with D&D. I'm Dwayne.
I'm David.
And we're just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. And tonight, we have a special guest who is not with us yet, Michael Skupin. I'm excited. Are you excited, David?
Of course.
It literally took me and Skupin 20 minutes to get his computer working.
And
I promise
you're not even in the same state. That's pretty good.
And Skupin's got his gun with him. I have been on the phone with Skupin for 30 minutes getting his Windows computer to work. If he'd just buy a Mac, he wouldn't have these issues.
I was going to, and then like there wasn't a founder anymore.
Yeah.
He had one on order, and then second place fell in his lap. You know.
Yeah.
My gosh!
Could only do so much.
Yes.
With the
3
split
votes
purse.
away from a Mac. 3 votes away from a Mac.
Hey, Skupin, I have an idea. All right, you can buy a Mac. I don't know if you can buy a Mac on Amazon or not, but if you want to, not you, but if anybody else wants, actually you can too. You want to support our podcast, you can shop Amazon, survivortalkwithdnd.com/Amazon, and you help support our podcast. So we thank y'all for doing that.
I'm so bummed. I just spent $100 on Amazon.
Oh, we could have had $6 or 60 cents. I don't know which one it is, but we could have had it.
$6. It's okay.
So, Skupin, next time you get on Amazon, just go through our link. I'm not kidding, Skupin. I'm being serious.
I'm serious.
You might have to send
leaving
it to
again.
him. You probably have to send it to him.
Yeah, Skupin is leaving again.
No, I'm adding authenticity to my statement. This just arrived.
Ah,
Oh.
Conversations with God.
yes.
And this book that changed my life forever. This goes way back. Do you remember that book?
Celestine Prophecy.
Life changer.
Nice.
I do motivational speeches all over the world, and I use this book as the way that I do my speech because it's a kind of a self-help book, but it's written in the Indiana Jones kind of adventure style format, so it doesn't seem like anybody's being lectured at, and it's a blast, and that's what I do. So that
Awesome.
got me started.
Awesome. Well, Skupin, tonight we're going to basically, we wanted to talk with you about this season of Survivor, kind of how it ranks for you. And David and I were thinking we could divide it up, really, because if you think about this season, I can kind of associate it with me going to get on a roller coaster, right? So the first half of the season, pre-merge, is me getting in line, having to wait, watching all the little video screens, enduring little babies crying in the line and everything, and then all the way up to going up the hill to the very top of the hill on the first hill. And then post-merge, I go down the hill and do the whole rest of the roller coaster. That's kind of how the season felt for me.
Is that kind of how every season falls for you, or just this one in particular?
No, really this one, because, I mean, now granted, I enjoyed the first half, but the second half, it really kicked in once that merge hit.
Yeah, and a true blue Survivor geek, nerd, fan, whatever you want to call us, we enjoy every season. I mean, I don't think I've ever not enjoyed a season, but I do get what you're saying. And you know what? To start this podcast, I think we need to address the fact that 20 new people left their homes on Friday
Yes.
to land in LA, and on Monday they took off for the Philippines, and they are now in the Philippines doing their 5-day detox before the show actually begins filming, which should end some of the rumors whether I'm going to be on that or not.
Right. Yes.
Although if I was leaving tomorrow, I would probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would be obvious because your tweet total per day kind of reveals your status as to where you are. So you were busy
I know.
today.
I all of a sudden since the finale, I've gotten like 2,000 Twitter followers, and I've gotten more questions than I've gotten, in 2 seasons of Survivor in the last 5 days, and I feel this compelling urge to answer everybody's questions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, I just do, and so I've been.
You've been all over Scoop. I mean, you've been all over Twitter.
All over.
So, well, you haven't reached Cochran's Twitter account.
Boy, they sure. And this is good. I told the Survivor producers at the beginning of my season, or when I got back, I said, do you know that even the people on American Idol that get voted off first get 200,000 Twitter followers, and they're tweeting, and the social media impact is gigantic. I said, you're missing out on that. Why? Because every American Idol singer puts their hashtag in their tweet right below them as they're singing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they create all kinds of, they call it earned media, but it's just free social media advertising. And
Yep.
Survivor said we're 50% of the way there. We're still trying to create this aura that it's a live show and you're watching something that's happening right now. And there's 50% of us that said, hey, let's take advantage of social media. We're about halfway there. Well, it looks like they leapfrogged because they allowed Cochran to say, I never go outside. This is right in the middle of the season. He said, I never go outside. I never pretty much leave the house. In fact, I hardly ever leave Twitter.
Yeah.
And he went up 20,000 Twitter followers that day.
Yes.
And then on the finale, when he was able to talk about Twitter, he went up 60,000 followers and became the number 3 Survivor followed Twitter guy in the history of Survivor, behind Elizabeth Hasselbeck with 310,000 and Jimmy Johnson with 140,000.
Yeah.
Why
Good
I know
gracious.
that useless trivia is from the Survivor factoid robots from my Twitter page, which I love hearing that kind of stuff.
Right. Right. You know, talking about knowing that you're not on this next season, I didn't tweet. I was chatting with Rob Sesternino today, just very briefly. It's not like we talk every day or anything. And
Name dropper.
yeah. Right. That's right. I was congratulating him because, you know, they're expecting a baby now and everything. So I was saying, well, I guess you're not the one. I guess you're not going on the next season. And he said, yep, because I'm tweeting you right now, or whatever he said. So anyway. All right, so I'm so used to wearing glasses, David. I keep going and grabbing my glasses. But see, when I wear glasses, then you get the computer screen on your screen.
We could be the 3 glasses amigos, but
yeah.
I paid $1.06 for mine.
All right, so
mine.
So let's hit the first half of the season. Let's talk pre-merge. What are some things?
Before we get to that, I got a question. Let's say CBS calls Skupin Jr. and says, "Hey, we know you're a fan of Survivor. We want you to come on. We got 2 seasons we're going to film this summer. The first season is a fans versus favorites style season with a twist, just like what we're getting ready to have filmed. The second season is all new. This is them being flat out honest with them, telling them you choose which one you want to be on. What does Papa Skupin advise young Skupin to do when he's making this decision? Does he recommend going on the fans versus favorites, or say no, pass on that one and go on the all new season?"
That's such a great question. I mean, I love the way you guys hit Survivor you hit it from a different angle than Sesternino hits it. You hit it from a different angle than Fishback hits it. You really, I love the way you guys see this show from a different angle. No question, actually.
I got points on this, so get it right. Get it right.
It is such a ridiculous advantage to be a returning player. I will say that. I mean, I was, 3 of 18 people on my season. I mean, the odds were so stacked against a returning player making it far on season 25.
Right.
Because we were outnumbered 15-3. And other than the fact that I was a returning player, I was dead. But I picked up on things that they would never pick up. And look at Cochran, whose game was so lame the first time he played. And I saw him evolve as the season progressed. So if my son was going to have a fair shot at this game, it would have to be with newbies, because returning players, even the bad ones, are way better than sometimes the best of the newbies.
Right.
That kind of brings me to something that I was thinking about today, and I kind of debated on whether or not I even wanted to ask this, but I almost feel like Survivor is at this turn in the road, or this fork in the road, where Well, okay, like this families with favorites, or not favorites, but returning players with their families, right? So what are they going to do the next season? I mean, because fans versus favorites.
Families. You know it's not families. It's some families.
Well, whatever. Significant other, friend, lover, whatever. What? Met at the bar? Somebody I picked up on the plane on the way over to the Philippines.
See, they missed out. They could have had podcast partners. Man, they really missed their chance there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess my question is, they're always adding favorites, right? They're always doing favorites or returning players, and new players just don't have a shot in the world to win this thing. So how are they going to get new players in this without it being total dominating favorites versus fans like it was this season?
It's virtually impossible. I mean, they were able to pluck, a guy like Malcolm out of the newbies because he wasn't dominated by returning players because he was on the dominant side, 15-3. They liked Lisa Welch a lot, so that was another birth player from that season. And there was a couple other ones, but you're right, on this last season, because the favorites dominated so much, we didn't really get to see, Sherry's game, for instance.
Right.
She claimed she ran the show, and, other people, would claim differently that were out there. Nobody truly knows anybody's game except for yourself, because sometimes, and you've heard this old Survivor cliche, which I'm not big on cliches, but sometimes making no move at all is a big move sometimes. But you eventually have to make a big move, and Sherry had her chance to make the big move, and we'll talk about that post-merge, and she settled for third because she didn't make the move that was available to her.
Yeah.
So, she basically was saying she was happy with third, but in an all-newbie season, she might have gone for it.
Right. Well, do you think any of the fans this season kind of made a name for themselves that will be coming back?
I liked Allie a lot.
Yeah.
Second boot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her a lot, and I think that she would have brought some contention. I think she would have brought strategy. I liked her. We didn't get a chance to see her. Did anybody really make a name for themselves? I heard Eddie's name get thrown around with this next season, and I watched his game so clearly. I blogged about it like you guys do, and I don't see great, fun, good-looking, cute little story about making it, but I don't see what he did to make a name for themselves. And like I said, Sherry lost her opportunity to make a name for herself, and if anybody really scrapped their way out of anything and made it far enough to be considered, although we know from Boston Rob, who didn't make the jury twice, it doesn't matter even making the jury to get back on. I didn't make the jury, and I got back on.
Heck, Francesca got voted off the first day, and she got back on.
Yeah, so there really is, people think that's rules. The rules are ratings. That's the rule.
Right.
And I think the most likely person to bring ratings is Reynolds. And whether you like the game or not, if he would have just watched a single darn season of Survivor,
I know.
Player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see Eddie coming back because I can't see him playing a different game. I can't imagine he'd do anything different than he did this time.
Yeah. Now, Reynolds, on the other hand, if he camped out with 10 or 12 seasons of Survivor, I think he could. I've actually spoken with him, and really level-headed, really nice guy. And I said, man, I was hard on you this season because I could tell you hadn't watched. You had the talent, but you couldn't put it together. Really super. Like, I really enjoyed. I could see he's got a great social game, and they didn't show that much of his great social game, but he was always on the bottom scrapping up.
Yeah, that was kind of obvious because he didn't seem to get anything about a bluff or being lied to until the reunion show. I think that's when he figured out that people lie to you and don't tell you the truth. So but man, challenge-wise, you couldn't ask for a better competitor.
Oh my!
I mean, the guy can compete with anybody.
Crazy is he won one challenge, but you're right. He in the team challenges he played a very significant role. but in individual challenges, he just couldn't pull off a win. He's like
I can't stand on a 1x6 either. So I mean, I couldn't do that very well. But I'll give him slack on that one. But but to get I think this newbie tribe could have done better against another noob tribe. Because whether it was editing or not, they seemed to be in almost every challenge. But Allie brought up a good point on one of her exit interviews. She said, those guys had us at the first challenge because they all took off their shoes, they all took off their water shoes, went into that first challenge with nothing on their feet, and got completely better traction than we did. They outthought us, and they outplayed us from the very beginning. And another new tribe might not have thought of that. And it might have been, who knows strategy-wise, physical-wise, what would have happened. But she pointed it out, and that's what made me start paying attention to her thoughts, because she said they got us right from the beginning. They showed that they were the smarter players.
And it's in challenges, sometimes the tiny little things. Like Malcolm did a challenge that he won on season 25. They brought the same exact challenge back.
I know.
But he was so physically exhausted by then. He was partly the reason why they won on season 25 and mostly the reason why they lost on season 20. The exact same challenge. So you could tell.
And you're talking of the challenge where he tried to get all the bags out of the sandbox first.
Well, you heard what he said. He pulled up the first one and dumped it on the last one. So he never found the last one. Or what he was claiming was that he never found it because it was underneath the pile that he formed. Whereas when Penner did it, I think he tilted him over the side. Yeah. So he tried to get him near the edge, it seemed like.
And it was
Malcolm was like, I think
Carter Williams' idea. I think you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you told us that. We want to make sure everybody knew about that.
Yeah. So on the fan tribe pre-merge, we get to see Sherry play, right? So in my estimation, Sherry came to the tribal council thinking I did play this game, because look at how she played pre-merge. I mean, she was playing a game pre-merge. She was bringing Shamar along and stuff like that. And then in her mind, once she hit the merge, she played a different game, but it was still her game. But anyway, I guess we'll get to that. Well, do you have a comment about that?
Every time you say Sherry pre-merge, I get this visual in my head where she went, "Yes, I said that. Yes, I said that. Yes, I said that."
Yes. I do remember that unfortunate moment. Yes.
My little 7-year-old does that all the time.
All right. Well,
that was like one of the first big things we heard her say. I mean, otherwise it was all a lot of handshakes and hugs and nods and stuff. When they were making their pact, when the cool kids were out there, they made their little pact like, "Hey, we got a game. This group's going to play a game. They see it. They're going to act." And all of a sudden she blew up that time. And I was like, wow, there she is.
It was
they really downplayed the cool kids. They said, Allie said it was one moment, 5 minutes. We were all in the water. Matt Beard, Bischoff was out there with them. But when they showed it from the scene, he was either on his way there or on his way back. But they claimed he was with them in that alliance. And, they claimed it wasn't a big deal. It was just one little conversation, and it got portrayed and tweeted and Facebooked, and I was right along with it, that it was a big, giant deal. But
so what was a bigger deal, that or the snoogling in the shelter that night? What would make a bigger deal in the game of Survivor?
Getting close with anybody on Survivor is the kiss of death.
Mm-hmm.
Corinne got close with Michael, bam. Matt got close with Michael at the merge, bam. Any two people that form a bond, the Tandang tribe on season 25, Matt, our artist Pete and Addie, the second they got together, bang, we got rid of them. You can't, because a team of two is so threatening because you're by yourself. And if you see any two people hanging out all the time, it instantly puts a target on somebody's back. Malcolm and Angie had that at the beginning of season 25. And Reynolds and Allie had that, and it was the kiss of death.
Now, you've talked to Dawn, I know. Did she mention anything if her and Cochran played the Skupin and Lisa role where they stayed away from each other? Because so many people were surprised that they were that close. Even Corinne said it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's interesting when you, I didn't ask her that specific question, but when you look at, in your mind, the scenes, all of their scenes were by themselves in the woods.
Exactly. Separated.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was strategy or by chance, but I mean, I'm sure it was at least some strategy. But, Cochran did a nice job. Philip thought he was best friends with Cochran, and Dawn thought he was best friends with Cochran. And, if you look at this thing from, the bird's eye view, and you compare the people from our season, I think Cochran was the Denise. Like Denise from our season let everybody else do the dirty work and make the strategy moves and calls the shots.
Right.
And she just waited to pick up the $1 million at the end of the game. Somehow, a lot of people don't like this statement, but I in a way, Survivor's evolved into who offended you the least instead of who played the game the best.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but true.
I've written that several times.
And you know what? Here's the fact. It is. So if it is, and you're not playing your game to that, shame on you.
Yeah.
But I think that's a recent evolution. Like I don't think it happened. I don't know when that season, that might have just happened on our season.
Now you telling me they like Natalie more than Russell? Or they thought she played the better game? No, you're kidding. That's we like you better than him, and that's why we're voting for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's and sometimes it's jury specific on whether they vote like that.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I really like what Cochran said to Brenda. Look, you gave me an emotional gift, and I'll be glad to pay you back an emotional gift. But voting you out was a game. What? Gosh, I can't talk.
You didn't give me a game gift.
You didn't give me a game gift, so I'm not going to repay you with a game gift. I thought that was great.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have a hard time putting words together, and he keeps using that, and I can see because he used it so much that nerdy Harvard thing, but he definitely found a way to use that nerdy Harvard thing to his advantage.
Yeah.
By being this seemingly unthreatening guy, don't worry about me. I can't win a challenge. I'm not going to be a threat at the end, and he snuck up on him.
Right. Well, I don't think he thought he was going to win a challenge until he started winning one or two. So is there anything pre-merge that sticks out that you wanted to talk about tonight, or do you want to get to post-merge?
Well, no, let's not do the Jeff Probst thing and ignore, wait, did I just say that?
Yeah, you did.
Big Brother watching.
All right, well, let's talk about those people. Are there anybody? Well, that's right. We already talked about who we thought if anybody would come back or make an impression.
Yeah, we did.
But I agree that I think this tribe would have done better against other newbies, and now they won't be newbies anymore. They'll be experienced, even with the few days some of them had out there. But
yes, so I if we were to look at the tribe, let's just kind of do a fallen comrades thing. I don't have a lot to say about Francesca because she was gone too quick. I think it was just meant to be. That's all I can say about Francesca. If you guys had anything,
it seemed like in a fear of being voted out, she overplayed and just didn't pay attention enough, just didn't listen enough. She may have spoke too much and didn't pay attention to what was going on around her. She might have been able to slip past Philip. If he's your biggest nemesis, make him your best friend. Do something to stay out of his crosshairs.
Well, he told her. He said, I'm not playing with you.
Yeah.
He was right up front with her, and for some reason that didn't register to her. When Pete told me on the first day, Skupin, no offense, but we hate returning players and we're going to vote you out first. No offense, though. When he told me that, I completely changed my game. When Philip told Francesca that, she kept playing the same game.
Yeah.
So, you got to take cues, and I think that's part of what, when you get voted out first, I don't even know if you're like a returning player because you don't have enough game experience to be a returning player. We talked about Allie. Again, we didn't get to see quite enough of her, but she's a big fan of the game.
Yeah. I could see her coming back. I would like to see her come back.
Yeah, and unfortunately a second boot or a first boot. I don't think will ever come back. But we'll see. Shamar, my big thing about Shamar is, he took his contact out, got a piece of sand in his eye, and put his. He did that to himself. And a guy that served 2 tours in Iraq, that's 99% sand, and 1 grain of sand takes him out of Survivor.
Yeah.
It's ironic, weird irony.
Yeah.
And wasn't he just? To me, he was just too confrontational to be on Survivor. I just don't see him.
Well, that was his plan. And why do you want to make enemies of the people you're supposed to work with to get rid of the veterans? That's what I didn't understand. He wanted to make life miserable and make them all want to quit. Like, dude, you need them to get past those other people.
It goes to show you that you can play any game you want if you're in the right alliance.
Well, that's true.
People will say whatever they want about this game. It's truly, truly, truly about the strength of your alliance. Truly, truly, truly.
I think he thought he was going to play against those 9 people and then face the other people. I think he thought he was going to play an elimination within his group. He just didn't seem like he was playing the full game of Survivor.
Well, it's, again, another supposed super fan that never watched a single episode, probably.
Right. Yeah. So what about Hope? Anything you want to say about Hope?
We would have liked to seen a little more for, I think.
Spoken like a true guy.
I'm just being guy. That's it. She was.
Yeah.
she fit that moniker of beauty queen. Yep, we got one of those. Next.
Yeah. Well, she might have been a better player, I suppose, if she had been able to stay on there longer. We just don't know. We don't know. What about Laura? Anything about Laura?
Yeah, Laura was Dwayne's preseason pick. So what do you think about Laura?
I was very disappointed in.
You know what? If Eric, as thin as he started the game, couldn't make it to the end, I don't know how Laura was going to think she was going to make it to the end. You don't have to be a challenge dynamo to win this game. Lisa was basically absent in every challenge. She made it to the final 3 on season 25. Abby, was a challenge, set out most of the challenges even and made it to the final 5. So but you have to at least pre-merge be able to compete or help your tribe at least a little bit in some respect. And if you can't swim, maybe you can run. If you can't run, maybe you could do puzzles. And it just didn't seem like she offered anything to the tribe. So pre-merge, you have to have a value add to the tribe or you're gone.
Yeah, we named that Philippine version of the sit-out bench the Abby Maria bench because we figured she marked it enough. But you mentioned not a challenge piece.
It had her cheek marks on the bench, actually. You can just kind of sit in the grooves.
Not a challenge piece, skinny as a rail. I think she finished tied for second. So for some reason, Sherry always looked to me like she was on vacation. She never looked like she was hurting or that she was even starving. I'm sure she was. But compared to Eric, was he doing too many chores around camp? Well, Sherry, she was like she was getting a suntan, I guess, because she was brown. But she never seemed to complain about anything.
There are some people, like Richard Hatch said, I never felt hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose a pound a day out there.
Yeah,
a pound a day, and Malcolm, this is an interesting stat. Malcolm made 38 days on our season and only lost 18 pounds. So he only lost a half a pound a day. Yet in season 26 that just finished, he was only out there for 28-ish days, and he lost 22 pounds. So he lost 4 more pounds in like 2 less weeks. So the hunger.
It was the stress.
The hunger was more severe on 26 than it was on 25, and I was dying.
Yeah.
He was under stress for leading the pack because he didn't have to lead too many people in 25, but in 26 he was the leader of his little group.
Well, he was trying anyway.
Yeah. With
3 amigos. Well, you got to give him credit for a great tribal council move. Oh, it was great for TV.
It was great television.
Right.
It was a below average Survivor move. He had the ability to really make that into a brilliant move. And I mean, I loved it as much as everybody else did. It was classic television.
Yes.
But just to see the look, it was almost worth it to see the looks on their faces.
Right.
But I believe when I ran those numbers again that he could have accomplished the same result as Shock Value. He got rid of whoever he wanted. He got rid of Philip, which I'm not sure why he didn't cut the head of the snake off. Either he didn't know, he was that unaware of it, but he's a great player. I mean, he's a great player, and it's so easy for me to sit here and say, boy, he really could have played that a little bit differently. But I tell you, out there, you run scenarios ad nauseum out there to try and figure out what the best one is.
Right. See, I liken that tribal council to Malcolm scoring a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown at the end of the first half. It's great, but it's not as great as it would be if it was at the end of the game. But my question about Malcolm is, and this is kind of from the beginning, is I didn't think he was going to do that well because he was still kind of a newbie to these favorites. I mean, these favorites know each other off camera. They know each other out of the game. I'm sure they talk. They meet up at these rallies, and they just get to know each other to some degree. At least most of them do, or some of them do. He comes into there an unknown, and these other 9 people are like, well, you don't know this guy. I mean, look at him. He comes back this quick. He had to have done something good. So to me, that would put a target on his back as a favorite. Somebody they can't trust. He looks like he'd be good in challenges, but we don't know. Do you think his only move was to wait for the chance to flip and not stay with the favorites tribe? Do you think that was his best move?
No, because a strong alliance is a strong alliance. And you're right. Survivors talk, and pregame alliances are formed. Everybody on season 26 had a pregame alliance except for Malcolm and Dawn. But the pregame alliances didn't stick because there was a pregame alliance on my season that didn't stick either. Somehow one of the newbies figured out one of the favorites coming back, and it wasn't me, but they don't stick because when you get out there, and so now in this next season 27, Survivor must have called 100 or more ex-survivors as they were throwing Velcro, stick figures up on the board to try and put this season together. And I mean, you can't even imagine the people that got called and all the phone calls back and forth. The people were trying to make alliances, and the problem is if you're calling me to make an alliance, I'm probably not your first call. So it's as risky a move as it is good strategy. So sometimes the best strategy is to just not have any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
On this new season, did they know ahead of time what the tribes were going to be like?
No.
Okay.
No, Survivor doesn't give up, what the scenario is. They might give you a generic idea. We all knew that we were going to see some familiar faces, returning players, and we knew that there was going to be a loved ones element of some sort in there, but we didn't know how the tribe was going to be split. We knew it wasn't going to be returnees versus newbies, because you got to know that the newbies that they got on this new season, they're technically not people that would have been typically cast if they weren't going to be paired up with a returnee. So they're not quite Survivor material, whatever that definition is. They're people that probably never applied, never even thought about playing Survivor, and all of a sudden they're the person that they knew that had played before gave them a phone call and said, hey, got an idea.
But because they're a family member or a friend, I'll guarantee you they've watched more episodes than some of the people that just played in the season we just watched. At least the season their friend or family member was on.
Yes.
Very good point.
At least we're guaranteed they will have watched 1 or 2 episodes.
They'll know who Probst is.
Right.
Yeah, very, very, very good point. Very good point. So they're at least seasoned enough and at least coached enough by their loved one.
That's a good point.
How to play this game. But there's nothing like being there. Once you get there, it's a whole new set of rules.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So anything else pre-merge? I mean, do you want to talk anything about Brandon or any of that? What all happened there?
Yeah, we got to address Brandon. In fact, this is Brandon's due. I've read a lot of somewhat negative comments, like CBS loves train wrecks, and CBS knew Brandon was a walking time bomb, and I want to ask those people, and how did you know this? Like, who from CBS told you this? Brandon played. He made it, 37, 38 days the first time he played. He was fine. He didn't blow up. One silly move, and he was in the final three.
Right.
So he wasn't a walking time bomb. So whoever thinks that CBS made a blunder, by nobody thought they made a blunder when they saw Brandon Hant's bat. Everyone thought, okay, he's at least earned a spot as much as anybody else on this supposedly favorites tribe. It wasn't until he kind of freaked out that everybody all of a sudden had this hindsight that CBS knew he was a walking time bomb. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that. Brandon's a good player. He's an incredibly intelligent guy, really intelligent. Makes bad choices, but didn't we all when we were 20 years old?
Yeah.
I like Brandon Hantz as a person, and I like him as a player. Do I agree with what he did out there? No. Do I think it was good Survivor strategy? No. Did I think the way he exited the game was smart? Heck no. But I was thrilled with the fact that he was going back on, and CBS handled it poorly, I thought. I mean, it was a shocker to everybody.
Right.
So, but him not being at the finale, which I'm sure we'll talk about, I think was a travesty. Probst was quoted in Entertainment Weekly as saying that Brandon thought it was a good idea that he didn't show up also.
Right.
I've known Probst to be a pretty straight-up guy. He's willing to take bullets when he makes mistakes. He puts people in their place when they're talking smack and it's not right. I tend to believe Probst because he's a straight up guy. You might not like some of the decisions that he makes. He's a pretty straight up guy. So I think they probably convinced him that it was the best move, and I think he agreed. And they still paid him, and he sat home without doing any of the work. Paid the same amount everybody else did.
Yeah, and none of his family paid a lot of money to come to the finale and not get to see him
and stare at the back of his head.
Yes. So there you go.
What do you have to say about Brandon?
Well, I mean, with all that you just said about him, you know him a lot better than we do. I just think he's got to. It's one of those things where you leave your emotions at the door, and I think he brought his emotions with him. And when he didn't get his way the first vote, he took it personally, or just reacted that way, and just never let go of that. I mean, to channel Uncle Russell, and I'm sure we saw that 5-second clip, and that might have been all he said that night about Uncle Russell, but he just took it personally instead of saying, all right, let me regroup. Let me come up with a different plan. Let me realize, what I did wrong. Let me find who I thought I had, and let me just get a new plan. And I just didn't see him formulating that. He didn't like the first vote, and he wasn't going to be happy from then on out. To me, you can't make enemies. The people you like the least, you gotta like the most. You gotta change that. This is a game. It's not life. It is a game. It's a social game to me.
But remember, now look, you say check your emotions at the door, and you're right. Look at Don Meehan. Look at Lisa Welchel.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and what you say is true from a pregame strategy. When you get out there and there's no love anywhere.
Right.
There's 17 other contestants or 19 other contestants that are out to get you. Production's out to get you because they got to create a show, and without drama, there's no show. Probst is out to get you. He'll expose your game at Tribal Council. It's just part of the game now. You can't. If you on your worst day at the office, when you come home, you're going to get love somewhere. You can find love. Your spouse, your kids. If you live alone, maybe you have a pet, or even a goldfish will come up to the glass and look for food from you. You can find love, but out there's not. So it's more emotional than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
Well, what I saw whenever I watched Brandon was someone who, if I was playing with him, I wouldn't know how to handle him, because on one day he's all up and happy and life is great and I'm going to win this game. And on the next 5 minutes, depending on how the wind blows, he's angry and mad and crying about his kids and stuff like that. It's like bipolar or something like that. It was really hard to watch him play.
I think that's the effect of the game that he's just talking about. I think that's what the game can do to certain people. I mean, he's talking about burning down the camp.
And remember, it takes 2 years to recover from Survivor, from one experience.
Really?
And I'm not sure Brandon hit that mark, emotionally especially. And it shows you what a kind of a brilliant player Coach is too, because Coach totally harnessed Brandon in to the end of the game.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. And then whenever Coach was on the CBS after show with Parvati, and they called Brandon on Skype, man, Coach was trying to be nice to Brandon and everything, and Brandon just had no love for Coach at all.
Surprise.
I mean, he just really didn't show him any respect at all, and Coach just kind of hung back.
But you know what? Brandon's in that phase of his life where he might put on a strong front, but what happened on the show and not being at the finale, all of that, even if he agreed to it, which Probst said he didn't, I'm telling you, I just believe Probst. I don't agree with a lot of the decisions that he made at the finale, all that, but I agree with that. It's for a 20-year-old kid or a 21-year-old kid, that's not easy.
Right. So why don't we get to what everybody wants to talk about, and that's kind of the last part of the season and maybe even closer to the last couple episodes.
Ride down the roller coaster. It's what we all look for, right?
Yeah.
Hey, the first 2 hours, you said the most important part of the game is the first 2 hours of the merge. And that's what I told people. This week, when they merge, watch that feast, watch where they sit, watch who they talk to, and see what happens from then on out.
Yep. So what'd you think post-merge there, Skupin?
You know, it was really...
What were you looking for? What were you looking for post-merge?
Well, I looked for what, because I remember on our post-merge, I remember all of a sudden, it was the Pete Abbey Artist Show in the Tandang tribe, and we'd never lost, and we were feeling high and mighty. And all of a sudden we get to the merge, and their power just got diffused, and they were just kind of looking around like, wow, we're not calling the shots anymore. We don't say jump, and people don't say how high, and they were like fish out of water, and they weren't participating in the banter like everybody else was. So, I mean, it's a fresh start in life for some people, and it's the kiss of death for others.
Yeah.
And so, I look at the power as they're going into the merge and what happens to that power. And it's funny that the fans didn't have any merge strategy. They went in there, the favorites just listened, and Eddie and Reynolds, blah, 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 Sherry, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
It's so funny. That's what I'm saying. It's not fair to put returnees and newbies together. It's just not fair. So you just watch, and you just watch people trip up over themselves. And a lot of times people will shoot themselves, and boy, did Sherry was so quick to throw her tribe under the bus, and Reynolds and Eddie were so quick to throw them under the bus, and it's my favorite, almost my favorite episode of the whole season.
Yeah, I was watching with my daughter Gracie, and she's like, "Why are they telling Malcolm so much?" I said, "Honey, that's the point. Is Malcolm's not telling them anything." I said, "Malcolm's got 2 months' experience, and he already knows to keep his mouth shut." I said, "That's why Malcolm's just a better player, and he's a real fan." I said, "These guys, they're just happy to see somebody else. They're happy to see another cool guy." We lost Matt, because I think Matt was part of their group too. He even said he was, but now we got Malcolm. He's from the winning tribe, and now we got a bro. We're going to trust him with everything. Here's everything. Here's our bank account numbers. Here's everything you need to know. Malcolm said,
I would have loved
Thanks.
to have been a fan on that season, because I would have done just what they did. I would have split off. I would have dogged everybody out, and I would have pulled the biggest blind side, because the favorites would have split votes in case somebody had an idol, and they would have been caught so off guard.
Yeah.
But you're thinking past that conversation. They weren't thinking past that conversation.
Right.
You're thinking the next day.
Yeah.
So earlier in the podcast, you mentioned something that Sherry had done later in the game. So what was that you were talking about? You said that she could have changed the game.
Yeah. She was sitting against that tree and she said, "I don't know which way I'm going to vote," and I think it was F6, final 6, and she had a chance of going with the favorites, who at that time, when Andrea said that she wanted to vote off Brenda, and she went and told her strategy to Eddie and Sherry, and that was the turning point in the game, because Sherry was obviously in an alliance with all favorites.
Yeah.
So she was totally odd man out. She was never, ever, ever going to get to the top of that alliance. Her only chance in getting a jury vote, and she was at that point, we all knew that if she made it to the end, she was the GOAT they were taking to the end, because she'd never get a vote.
Right.
She didn't do anything. So the only way at that point to change your fate in the game, and it's risky, very risky, and fear is a very big emotion out there, is you got to make a big move. And she had a chance to tell them, "Andrea, you're getting blindsided." She could have grabbed Andrea. She could have grabbed Eddie. She would have had her. And I'm trying to think if there was one other player that they could have grabbed out there. And then on the other one, it was and the favorites split the vote that time.
Mm-hmm.
They split the vote, so all she needed was 3 votes to win. She could have completely turned the entire game around. Eric, they just pointed to the flag.
Right.
But that was her opportunity to actually take control of the game. Risky, because if it doesn't work, you just backstab your alliance.
Yeah. And see, that's what Malcolm kind of did. He made his big move, it seemed like, shortly after the merge. He realized he was at the bottom.
But he made his big move in front of everybody. A big move is behind the scenes, not in the middle of tribal council.
Right.
Like he stunk his, like you never, stand up on a rock and beat your chest and say, "Here's my alliance," and that's basically what he did.
Yeah.
And even the tribal council before that, where he had Reynolds, give him his immunity idol.
See, I love the parts about Survivor where the things you don't see come out to play. Like you and Lisa being hidden from the rest of the game, and like Cochran and Dawn being hidden from the rest of the game. It just completely floored Corinne that she went and told these people what she was planning, and they went and told their secret partner. I love that part of the game, because to me that's the big part of the game.
Yeah,
like
Dawn
you said, it's in the alliance.
Dawn got a lot of hate, but Dawn, to me, played the best Survivor game of outwit, outplay, outlast. Not the best, what the game kind of quickly evolved into, who offended you the least. Yeah. So Denise and Cochran played smart in the fact that they maybe realized the game evolved or got lucky that the game evolved. Whatever it was, they played good games to what the game is today. I still played like it was Survivor 2, outwit, outplay, outlast, and they're going to respect my gameplay. I really thought they would respect hard gameplay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you think Dawn played a better game than Cochran did as far as outwit, outlast, outplay?
The way the game was created back in season 1, outwit, outplay, outlast, she exemplified what I felt would have gotten more votes to become the ultimate survivor. Yes.
What does that, draw people in and then get rid of them?
Be strategic, make moves. When Dawn looked at Cochran and said, all you did was ask me who to vote for. And I think she was right. He didn't argue that point. And again, please understand, I'm not criticizing Cochran's play. I mean, he's the second person in the history of Survivor to never get a vote and then get all the votes at the end. So I'm not criticizing his gameplay. He probably is smart enough to realize the game evolved, and he let Dawn make those big moves and take responsibility for them. And it's great play. It is. It would be a tougher game for me to play because I'm so type A, and maybe type A's will have a hard time winning Survivor. Denise is so not type A, and Cochran's definitely not type A. And we'll see, because there's some type A's that are going to appear next season, and let's see if a type A can win it again.
Yeah. All right, now you might be too observant for this because of the way you play and think about the game, but when you're out there, are there players, you're in a tribe of 10, are there times where you look around and say, Malcolm, he just looks like somebody I can't trust, I got to watch him. There's Philip, he's always talking. There's Cochran, the little guy. I'll come back to him in a couple weeks. Is there anybody that you just kind of accidentally and forget, but to keep overlooking? Because when you look at Cochran and Dawn, they're not going to win a challenge. Look at them. They're small, they're skinny, they're nice, but they're not going to dominate this game. I mean, do you ever just accidentally forget people sometimes until it's too late? Because I kind of saw that this season. I felt like they were, Dawn and Cochran are just going to vote with SRU. They're just going to follow Philip and Andrea, and they're just going to keep doing that, not realizing that Brenda, Dawn, and Cochran were kind of sitting back, taking notes, writing down names, keeping records of everything that was going on so that they could keep controlling it in their own secret little way. I felt like people were kind of overlooking them at times. Like you said, he never got a vote against him.
I would never have overlooked a single thing.
I know you wouldn't.
Yeah,
other people.
I'm telling you.
I am Skupin.
When someone comes back from the well, I watch who they offer water to first. Where you sleep at night.
Right.
Who's there in the pillow. Who wakes up in the morning and where do you go, and who gets taken to tree mail together for those little walks. And when someone goes on a confessional and they come back with a different change of attitude, they discovered something during this confessional about the game or about themselves. I got to find out what that is.
All right, so have you ever observed like Penner or Malcolm or Jeff Kent in talking to them in the game, have you ever observed where they just kind of overlooked certain people, where they don't mention certain people, they keep wanting to point out this person or that person, and you're thinking, well, don't forget them. They're still here, and they're still playing the game. Do you ever notice people that just kind of do that? They zero in, kind of like the tunnel vision thing. You look at Malcolm or Reynolds, and you say, we got to get rid of that person. Hey, don't forget about Andrea over there. She's strategically planning the whole game out.
If somebody's name never comes up when we're talking about who to vote off,
right? That's what I'm talking about.
Almost screams out to me like, why isn't their name coming up? And I might not bring it up, but I definitely take note of it. On my season, any one of the final 8 people in our season could have won that game. So I felt we had a really strong final 8. I mean, Pete was very strategic, and Abby, her game where it was very different. If she would have made it to the end, she could have pleaded at least a decent case. And the way that Pete and Artis winked at her every time he walked in the tribal council from the jury, we thought for sure she had their votes. Carter had a case. He got Rice for the tribe. There was, Penner, brilliant social game, average, strategic game, but very likable, could have gotten the like vote out there. So this season was a little bit different because they got rid of some of the stronger players early on, where we got rid of the more of the weaker players early on. So, but if you make the merge, I don't care who you are, you're a threat to win the game. I think. So, could they have overlooked? Maybe they did, but I know that winning challenges has nothing to do with the game, and it always cracks me up at Final Tribal. Inevitably, one of the final 3 people will say, why do you think you should deserve the title of Sole Survivor? And it comes up, I worked hard around camp, and I won a lot of challenges. Since when does that have anything to do? But inevitably, you go watch past seasons, that's said almost, and maybe even every single time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So why don't we get to the final tribal council, because we've been doing this for about an hour now, and if we're going to keep this podcast under at a reasonable amount of time.
Hold on, one more question. If you were Malcolm at the tip of that roller coaster, what would you have done with those idols? Before we get to the end, I want to know what you would have done.
had brilliant idol play on season 25 because he flashed it, and everybody said, "Boy, that was dumb," but yet he was always a threat to play it. So it wasn't until Final Six where we actually had an opportunity to blindside him. By flashing them, it's sometimes enough of a threat. But I would have definitely kept it secret. I would have definitely, if I would have found that, I would have slipped it to Eddie and said, or I would have buried it under a rock, and I would have lured Eddie over, and I would have let Eddie find the idol so it didn't look like I had another idol. I mean, there's so many different ways he could have played it. Again, the way he played it was the best for entertainment value.
Right.
But, strategically, he could have saved one of those idols. I believe he could have saved one of those idols because they had 3. They didn't have to play them all at one tribal council.
Right.
And why they got rid of Philip, again, this is viewer hindsight, and it always is brilliant. If they really and truly thought that Philip was running that show, it was impossible to think that Philip was really running that show. Somebody else had to be calling the shots, and Malcolm just didn't figure it out.
I just think Malcolm couldn't resist the big move of being the one that got rid of Philip. Because
or playing the 2 idols,
yeah. I think he just saw, I'm going to make one of the biggest moves in Survivor history. It's going to be the most amazing tribal council ever. I'm going to get rid of Philip. I'm going to hand idols to people, and that just got in the way. So
you could be right, because remember, he's working on a not a full stack upstairs, because I figured out he had about a 30-day break in between 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 30 days into it, I was a wreck 30 days after. I mean, how he did that, maybe it's a testament to being 25 years old, but he, for a 30 days rest, I thought I would give him an A+ for his play. If he was fresh, I wouldn't give him an A+. But being where he was, brilliant game.
Right. All right, so let's get to Final Tribal Council. We were pretty impressed with how Cochran handled Final Tribal Council from the very beginning, and then listening to him.
Dwayne, we should probably talk about Andrea before we go to Final Tribal.
All right, well, let's do it.
Because we're going to talk to her next week, so let's talk about her now.
Yes. Andrea, I got to tell you, I enjoyed watching Andrea this season. It's like from day one, she was playing hard. From day one. It was a blast watching her play.
Well, I liked her because in Redemption Island, I thought she was one of the first people to see what Boston Rob was doing. I thought she was one of the first people to wake up to how he was, I can't win, but I'm going to make sure you guys do. And she was the first one that saw through that, I thought. And then all of a sudden she's gone because Boston Rob saw that and he took her out. So I liked her coming back this season. I wanted to see her play. She turned out to me to be even smarter than I thought she would be, even strategic. But as soon as she hooked her wagon to Philip, I just had a feeling it wasn't going to be the best choice for her. I don't know if she was stuck because of Redemption Island or what, but I just didn't think that was going to work.
I thought she, 25 years old, one of the best strategists that I've ever seen in the game. I mean, I loved watching her. She, it's funny, she said, whenever you think you feel safe, I have no idea what possessed her not to play the idol. Everyone knew she had it. Having it that late in the game it's a blessing and a curse because everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
And I for the life of me, she said, boy, everything was so quiet around camp. Everything just seemed so complacent. When people aren't scrambling, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been such a tip-off to her. But I'm telling you, I've never had an idol. We didn't have them on season 2, and there was only 3 in play. It wasn't raining idols on season 25. It was on season 26. I don't think there's ever been more idols in 2 seasons than we saw in season 26. But if she would have played the idol that day, it's a completely different game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I give her, she intercepted that pass and she ran 99 yards, and then she took a knee at the 1 yard line and didn't put the ball in the end zone.
Yeah. She definitely got blindsided. Definitely.
Yeah, and to get blindsided with an idol, it's so Survivor 101. You just play. I give Reynolds credit. When he had idols, he played them.
He did. Yes, he did.
Oh, yeah.
He played them.
Or he gave him to Malcolm. So one or the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did definitely want to give kudos, and we have to talk about Brenda before we talk about Final Tribal, right?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean Brenda. She gave up her strategy at the family visit. Her dad said, "Be humble," and she played very humble. And all of a sudden, boy, she put the pedal to the metal. Come around Final Six and started winning challenges like we knew she could. And brilliant move by giving everybody the family. But if you win the family visit challenge, it's the kiss of death. And I don't know why no one's figured that out yet. You're not allowed to win that challenge if you want to win the game.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like if I'm on Survivor, it's not almost like it is. If I'm on Survivor and my wife comes, I'm going to say, look, I know you're competitive, but we cannot win this challenge. We've seen enough Survivor to know that they're going to offer us something and then they're going to take it away and we're going to be villainized no matter what we do.
Right, you're villainized no matter what you do. There's no way out of it. And next time I do Survivor, I'm going to find a 112-year-old lady walking down the street. I'm going to pretend she's my grandma.
That's right. No real family members anymore. See, she was my
David's your brother.
Yeah,
David,
right.
You're his brother.
That's right.
You can come on the show with him.
High five, and that's it. All right.
No, I take it back. I'm either bringing Cochran's dad or Eddie's mom.
There you go.
Okay, This is what I think about Brenda giving up, and I do think she gave up early on that immunity challenge because that's where I think she lost the game. She said that if Eddie had been on that, if she had been doing this against Eddie, she could have lasted longer. But because of Dawn's paranoia, she just went ahead and got out early. That's when she lost the game because she gave up immunity. That was to me like Eric giving the immunity idol to the ladies.
That's my word for Brenda right there.
Heart, love.
Yeah, love. I love her game. I love watching her out there.
Well, I do too, but still, she shouldn't have jumped off. She should have outplayed Dawn on that immunity challenge.
I'm not 100% convinced that she left early.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100% convinced.
Well, she said it, though.
He's smart. Well, I think what happens is it's just like Philip said, Cochran, I threw that challenge. You know that, right?
Okay.
Dwayne, I only act dumb. I'm not really dumb. I just act dumb.
Brenda is such potentially a superior athlete to Dawn, and lighter, which is a benefit in that challenge. She had to be a 10-1 favorite to win that thing, and I have no idea. I don't know if she slipped or if she got overconfident. I don't know what happened, but Eric was begging for food. It was an immunity challenge, and Eric was begging for food. I mean, someone told me he might have had a mini stroke.
Oh my goodness!
Oh wow!
Yeah, like
it's horrible.
I mean, he felt it, and and it's probably mostly dehydration. I can't tell you how much I hydrated. I mean, I was not going to let dehydration be a factor. So Eric, Russell Hantz got severely dehydrated. They never showed it. Boston Rob did. All the way back in season in Africa, season 3, there was a Lindsay Richter was medevaced for hydration, got taken to a hospital, and got brought back into the game.
Yeah.
Not a well-known.
Yeah,
you told us about that before.
So anyway, yeah.
So you think Brenda legitimately could not go any longer. And you're sticking by this.
I'm sticking by. I've talked to her a bit, and she's in love with her baby. It's all she can talk about.
Well, yeah.
She did ask me if she thought that the teeth thing at Final Tribal, and maybe we should talk about that. If she thought that, if I thought she went a little too far.
Did you tell her yes?
And then she went on to say, before I answered, she said, I never thought she would do it. She said, I wanted to call her out, and I wanted to prove that she really wasn't going to take him out because it was a big deal to her. And then when she took him out, I was surprised and I felt bad. So her intention wasn't to make Dawn look bad or feel bad. Her intention was to prove that Brenda saved her spot in the game. And when she took him out, Brenda was kind of surprised. So
kind of taken back.
Yeah. So she did say, I felt bad.
Do you think Brenda at all made the mistake of having the slightest feeling that she deserved to stay longer, that she wasn't going to get sent because she'd done enough to at least Dawn that she was not going to get sent home yet? She had earned the right to stay, which to me in Survivor, you've never earned the right to stay another day because that's the game. But do you think for a glimpse of a moment she thought, I've done enough? There's no way. She was completely, obviously blindsided. She didn't know. But do you think she let her guard down for just a second to say, you know what, I've done enough for Dawn, and she's in the right alliance, and I'm just not going home yet?
Dawn's a pretty believable character, and you probably gathered that by all the different people that she totally blindsided, like Malcolm and Corinne, and her three closest potential people. But so she's a pretty convincing lady, and I know her well, and I've not seen that side of her because I've never played with her, but Brenda was just kind of stuck because she either went along with what seemed to be the right thing, but I don't know if she had another option.
Yeah.
And it was such a low percentile win option that, it's the same mistake Carter Williams made. You play below the radar game, you stay off the radar, and all of a sudden you start winning challenges and winning challenges and winning challenges. So you're under the radar game and over the radar winning challenges, making you a threat. You lost your strategy. If you're going to play under the radar in challenges and in the game, and then make a big move and be able to state your case at Final Tribal. But her winning of challenges and Carter's winning of challenges is what got him kicked off.
See, you're making the case for Sherry because she played one of the worst challenge seasons I've ever seen.
Yes.
She played under the radar for the whole game just about because she snuck right in the SRU, but she never made that move to make that claim to fame that she made her Survivor move.
Yeah, she never participated in the strategic part of the game with the jury. You got to remember. You play a different game with the people that you're going to be sitting next to on the two stumps, and a completely different game for the jury because you're trying to secure their vote. So it's you got to play a different game inside the game with different people, not just with alliances, but with how you portray yourself as a person that should earn your vote at the end.
Like Cochran did, exactly. Now, before we get towards the end, there's one more move a little ways back I want to ask you about. Why didn't Corinne let Philip split the votes and then take him out in a blind side and use the votes that she had on the other side? She was so adamant about not splitting when he offered her a gift. I thought, from the way I interpreted it, he was offering her a gift. Let's split the votes. She nods. She walks away. She formulates her votes, and they take out one of them.
Yep.
Could she not see past her personal feelings about Philip and SRU that she couldn't allow this to happen and then take him out in the blind side?
Yeah, I mean, if you follow Corinne on any social media, she's a very, very outspoken person.
Yes. Yes.
When she pre-merge was able to mostly keep her double A type personality in check. I blogged her brilliant play because I know how double A you are. And then all of a sudden she just couldn't anymore. she couldn't anymore. She made such a big deal about Michael and made such a big deal about Malcolm and such a big deal against Philip. She, sealed her fate quite a bit. I mean, I love her on a Survivor game. And if with just a little bit more, it took Boston Rob 4 times. Corinne could be really good with a couple more times underneath her belt. Apparently, she thought that she had made the jury even when she did get voted off, and she had, bought a different outfit for every. I mean, she had planned the jury so meticulously, shoes and dresses and earrings and accessories, and just was floored when she didn't make the jury, and it really was a big deal to her.
Yeah, we didn't get that part, but she even asked Probst, I think, when he snuffed her torch, not the jury, not a jury member, but we didn't see that part, obviously.
Yeah, she wasn't happy about that.
No.
Yeah, no. I don't know how they even decide that, because she would have been probably a pretty good jury member.
She would have been great, but I bet she was less happy about her seat at the reunion. But anyway.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Final Tribal would have been a lot different with her there.
Yeah. So what'd you think of Final Tribal?
What's interesting about Final Tribal, and I've said this before, maybe even to you guys, is that because Ponderosa has become what it's become, and because you've already formulate your questions at Ponderosa and you give your questions to Probst just to make sure that everybody asks a different question. You want, 8 people asking the exact same question.
Right.
So that's why, it appears like everybody says something completely different, because it's intentional. You've already made up your mind over who you're going to vote for. Final Tribal is decided at Ponderosa, not at Final Tribal.
So you really don't think anything that they say at Tribal Council has any bearing?
Means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. I already know. I mean, I already know that they already know who's getting what votes from what person. I already know, and I already know that they make their votes based on knowing exactly how everybody's going to vote. For sure. And I've never been to Ponderosa, so I mean, I don't speak from personal experience, but I've talked to all the people that were on many of the seasons out there, and yes, it is. Once in a while, you hear somebody like Malcolm say, Dawn earned my vote tonight.
So we're revealing as a major scoop from the scoop that Final Tribal Council actually happens at Ponderosa.
No question. No, there isn't anybody that would disagree with that.
Brought to you by Survivor Talk with D&D.
Well, it just makes you wonder why even try then as a player to perform well at Tribal Council. I mean, if that's the case, then anyway, what's that?
It's a ceremonial ending to a exhausting 39 days, and it's mostly done for fans, but it's not really to determine the outcome of the game.
At least it's more entertaining than the rites of passage. They can drop that anytime. The fallen comrade rites of passage thing. As soon as they want to drop that, that's fine with me. I'd rather throw in another challenge.
For a bunch of seasons, and they brought it back. And I tweeted that that somebody said it seemed like it was scripted, and I said it's not scripted, but they don't allow us to dog anybody out, so we have to stay above the bar. And Eliza Orleans tweeted back, I guess you should have told Katie that, or something like that. So I guess on her season, potentially there was some criticisms at Rites of Passage.
Some dogging going on.
I'm not the Survivor historian, but she begged to differ. So maybe they've changed it up a little bit. If they allowed them to speak a little bit more freely, it might be more fun, and speed it up a little bit. I like the concept of it because it breaks up a part of your day, but we went right from Rites of Passage right to Final Immunity Challenge. I mean, immediately. And it had to be a 3-4 hour deal in 110-degree heat. I mean, it was brutal.
Oh my goodness!
It was physically exhausting to do that.
It was a 3 to 4 hour deal without the challenge or with the challenge?
No, just the rites of passage.
Oh my goodness!
An hour-long boat ride and a 3 or 4 hour ordeal, and then another boat ride to wherever the challenge is that you're going to be doing that day. So it takes a lot out of you. They did it on flat ground. One of the producers said they pointed to the mountain that we had to climb on season 25, and they said last year that's where they went, and they were like, "Thank God we didn't go on." They were on flat ground, so
yeah. And if it's not hot enough outside, you get to create a big bonfire and hug around it.
Yeah. That's it was the hottest fire I've ever been even remotely.
You're already burning up.
They have pyrotechnics experts out there. That thing just goes up like I don't even know.
Yeah,
like an episode of 24 or something.
Yeah.
Hey, I read Gordon. Dalton. I know Gordon Holmes too, but Dalton Ross, and he and I disagree on something. He doesn't know me, and we've never talked, but he is of the camp that Cochran deserves an asterisk beside his challenge wins or some of his numbers that he won. And to me, every challenge that he won, everyone else had the same advantage or had the same opportunities, had the same amount of money, and could have bid on the same advantage. And I don't think Cochran's challenge total deserves any asterisks. I think he won them all fair and square. I think he outbid everybody. He didn't even have to bid $500 for that advantage. Those guys just didn't outbid him. And I'm of the camp that I think Cochran deserves all those challenge wins without an asterisk, without a mark. What do you think about that?
If you were looking at a Survivor total and you were looking at challenge wins and you saw Cochran at 4 individual challenge wins, you would, in your mind, picture this beast. Because 4 wins would probably put him, of 400 to 500 survivors, it would put him probably in the top 20. It might put him in the top 10. It might put him in the top 10. It might. I agree with you that everybody had the same chance, but if you're looking at challenge wins, that advantage that he got in that final immunity challenge was ridiculous. I'm going to have to take Dalton Ross's side on this, that he did win them, and my hat's off to him, but if you're trying to do a historical record of tribal council or individual challenge wins, I would have 2 different categories: 1 total and 2 without an advantage, because those advantages are so significant. Abby Marie, who couldn't win a challenge, won because of the advantage, and
right.
so she has a total of 1 win, but she wouldn't have come close without that.
I'll agree. I hate the advantages, especially towards the end of the game. I mean, Malcolm's obviously didn't work for him, but Cochran's almost didn't work, but he ended up fixing that fire puzzle. But I do like the auction offering something to help you in the game, not necessarily something in a challenge. But at the same time, challenges aren't always physical. There used to be a question and answer challenge. You sit down with your pad and your crayon and you answer, who used to be a police officer, and who's got 3 children. There used to be challenges like that in some degree, or even
God, they got rid of those. Because the talk around the campfire is everybody's, doing job interviews around the campfire, and it just made for really dumb campfire talk.
Okay, but those still count as individual immunity challenge wins. But right, Cochran is no Ozzy. He's not even a Reynolds. So, I mean, I can agree at that point, but still, to me, in the world of Survivor, a challenge is a challenge.
I don't know.
Whether you write it down or whether you win it physically. Even the eating challenge should be fair for everybody, but they say, Rob Cisternino says Cochran eats anything put in front of him. So he definitely had an advantage of that, whereas Reynolds didn't even want to look at the stuff he had to eat. So, but still, a win is a win.
Okay, but when you get the advantage, on the challenge where you get to still hold the knot and no one else has a knot, there's no way you are going to lose. They might as well have just said, you are buying the next immunity, because there's no way you can lose it.
Then why didn't
You
they
have
buy
a
it
knot
back?
to hold it.
Yeah, and it's funny because you look at Malcolm, and Malcolm and Reynolds, the two biggest physical specimens on the whole season, had a grand total of individual wins of 1.
Right.
So it doesn't always translate. And so if you looked at a historical record, Reynolds would be way down on the list, but yet we all know he's an amazing challenge competitor.
Right.
So, you look at Cochran with 4, it like many statistics, it doesn't truly tell, the real tale of what happened. And my hat's off to Cochran for winning. He won them, and winning, no matter what, is a big deal. But sometimes the advantage is too much. Like Abby should have gotten a 1-step advantage, and she got a 2/3 advantage instead of a 1.
Right.
Malcolm's, was a 50% challenge, because he got 2 balls instead of 1 ball. Just a little bit too much, especially, like, I agree with you, Dwayne, for final tribal. I'm not a big fan of that so late in the game. Let the game be the game that late in.
Yeah.
So were you wondering where all the puzzle challenges were? Because we didn't hardly get any puzzles this year.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I don't know. It's like feast or famine on these puzzle challenges.
You guys had team puzzle challenges. You couldn't even get away from them there.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to address something here, because speaking of y'all disagreeing, because y'all disagree on this whole, asterisk thing.
We're closer than you think, but go ahead.
I don't know. So one of our listeners, Mike K. from SoCal, figured up that y'all's power rankings, if you compared your power rankings, that David would have beat you in the power rankings.
And Gordon.
So what do you got to say about that, Mr. Skupin?
Well, I loved doing the power rankings this season. And I was more into the strategy than being right. And there were times when I took the power rankings as meaning at that point in the game. Like, I bumped Reynolds up from 17 to 7 one time, because even though I never thought he would make it, at that particular point in the game, he did something brilliant that completely changed the game. If I was playing for the grand total, I would have placed some of the things differently. But I got to tell you, and I mean this to any fan that's listening and any fan that's tweeting, there are super fans that strategically get this game better than people that are returning players in the season. And you guys are 2 of them. Gordon Holmes. Gordon Holmes is one that strategically get this game even a level above, because Gordon Holmes said to me in a private conversation that every single person that's done the Gordon Holmes power rankings with him has always done better in the next season they played than the previous season, because it forces you to take such an introspective look at the game.
Right.
And so since you guys blog and do the podcast thing, you do get the game. And my money's on you guys against anybody out there that has played the game, because you dissect it so much. I learned a lot more about the game from just blogging or from just doing the power rankings. So the fact that David or even Dwayne or Gordon Holmes beat me in the power rankings is not a shock.
So the next time for you should be the charm. That's what we're saying. Okay.
Yes. Well, let me just be clear here. I am not the person about whom you just spoke. David is. David's the one that does the power rankings. David's the one that analyzes everything. I'm just on-air talent. That's all.
He's the voice.
He has me to publish the podcast and to keep things going on in the podcast. And he carries all of the knowledge.
Well, there's a guy named Max Dawson who used to teach the Survivor class at Northwestern University in Chicago, and recently moved out to LA, and he's in some Hollywood production things. That he's Flywheel or something like that on Twitter. That guy really gets the game. And I'm telling you, if I was the casting director, and I know there's a lot of super fans out there that get the game so well, I would love to see a game where, Andy Baker is another one who gets the game so deeply. I wish they would get those guys, instead of, Mr., six-pack abs and Mr., long flowing hair. It's okay to get the Hopes and the Reynolds, but I mean, I want to see strategy beasts knocking heads out there. And boy, a show with real super fans, all newbies, to me would be probably the most brilliant casting that Survivor could do.
That would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I would never be mistaken for the six-pack abs and the long form hair.
No, you wouldn't.
But,
and this is on video, so now we know for sure.
But I would love to try the strategy game. In my luck, I'd be the first one voted out. Say he's too smart, got to get rid of him.
Well, see, in a superfan game, you would know up front that everybody's too smart.
Right.
That's the thing. You would know up front that everybody is truly a superfan. You know who the superfans are. RC, from our season, watched every season 3 times before she came out and played.
Oh, my goodness.
And so, I mean, I knew that she was a go-to piece of information. Her problem was she played so hard she could never stop. She couldn't turn it off.
Right.
So she was so inundated with, 3 times watching every single season that, she didn't know how to press pause. So if she ever gets to play again, she might have learned something.
Well, I tell you what, she has stopped, and she stopped tweeting. I haven't seen a tweet from her all day long.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, something tells me she might be on this next season.
She might be on vacation. Yeah, that's probably.
No, I don't think so. Hey, speaking of blogs, since we were talking about David's blog, which is a great blog, and if y'all don't read it, you should. SurvivorTalkWithDND.com.
Yeah, keep talking. Go ahead. Oh,
I know that.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to give a shout out to one of our listeners.
That wasn't long enough. Oh yeah.
And I know that you read Katja's blog this last week because you tweeted about it, Skupin. You know Katja?
It's funny. You want I tweeted her? She said, I tweeted her blog, and I said, hey, it's been great I retweeted it all season, and I said, it's great. It was great reading your blogs. And she said, oh, thanks. I'm really glad you liked it. And I said, no, I just retweeted your blogs because you're hot. It had nothing to do with it. I really did. I really said that. And
that's hilarious.
If you're listening, I hope you have a good sense of humor, which you appear to have in your blog.
She does.
She doesn't know how to eat peanut butter, but she does have a good sense of humor.
Yeah, she has a whole jar of peanut butter that we talked her into buying, and she doesn't know what to do with it. So I think she's going to make peanut butter cookies.
That's funny. Yeah, so she definitely was humorous in her blogging.
Yeah, you can follow Katja. It's at KHATJA. That's her Twitter account. So, but anyway, we really enjoy promoting her. So, it's cool. So, what do you think? We're already an hour and a half into this. So, just real quick.
So we're halfway through. Okay.
No. I'm getting kind of like my brain's going other places.
We have to address the reunion show, right?
Right, which is what I wanted to address. From what Allie said in her paper that she wrote, which I won't read right now, which I really enjoyed reading. Did you read it?
I did. My eyeballs were burning. Whoa.
Yes. Apparently, this was like a total shock to everybody that they were taken off the stage and put in the crowd.
Well, did you see Matt's face in the picture that Skupin put out? Matt's face is like, what, not on this show?
Yeah.
I could have sworn I was on this show at some point.
Yes.
You
I
know,
mean, if I'm a family member, I'm ticked off at CBS.
yeah, and I
Majorly.
knew that. I know Allie, and I had called Allie, as soon as it happened. I'm like, give me the scoop. And so I had heard all that firsthand from her. Yeah, it was sort of a last-minute decision by CBS, which is kind of surprising. And I guess Probst addressed it in Entertainment Weekly, and I haven't read that article, but
I have. It's a sore excuse.
All I want to say is it's the same stage that 18 people were on one season ago.
Yes, exactly.
So the fact that 19 were supposed to be on, they made a decision. I tweeted, if drama equals ratings, and I put drama equals ratings, and Philip plus Brandon equals drama, then Brandon equals ratings. It's just mathematical. So if those two got together in a final reunion show, I thought it would have been great TV. I mean, we watch NASCAR for, a crash every now and then. We watch hockey for a fight every now and then. Who says there can't be a little bit of, post-game craziness on Survivor? I think it would have been brilliant TV.
Well, it certainly would have been better than talking to Rudy. Why do we have to talk to Rudy? And why do we have to talk to the little girl who cried because of Malcolm and not talk to Eric and not talk to all these other people? I would have loved to have heard from Corinne. I would have loved to have heard from her.
Well, just ask one of these people. Ask Matt or ask Allie or Laura and say, what did you learn? What did you get out of this? Did you, what was it like for you? Just recognize that they're on the show, how much time they gave up and all that to do all this. But Allie put that out. Matt wrote a great piece on his Facebook page. A really thank you to the fans and everything. It was a really sweet piece. And then I just posted on Facebook right before we got on here, Denise wrote a nice little section on her Facebook page. And one of her main points was, you know what? It's their game and it's their rules. We signed up with them. It's like a business transaction, and when I'm done, I'm done. But at the same time, you don't have to like it. But she's just reminding, and she comes from a very smart sector to me, because it was a very intelligent piece that she wrote. But it's in the end, it's their game and it's their rules, and we have to abide by their rules. Doesn't mean you have to like it.
Yeah, but we're not in the game anymore. But David, we're not in the game anymore. The game is over, and this is their time to.
The contract is not. The relationship is not. Even the reunion show is the end of your relationship for that season. That's still part of the season.
I understand that, and that's why they have to obey the rules and sit in the crowd instead of sitting up on stage. My point is, they should have been on stage.
Oh, I didn't say I agreed with it. I didn't say I agreed with them sitting out in the audience. I think it was a travesty. I thought it was ridiculous.
Well, my feeling is if they make a move that's not fair, that's good TV, do it. If they make a move that's not fair and it gives the audience what they want, do it. But the problem is that they made a move that nobody was happy about. I haven't heard from a cast member, a crew member, an employee of CBS, a fan, a casual watcher, a family member. I haven't heard that anybody was happy with that move. So the problem is, what it reminded me of? The medallion of power.
Yes.
It was such a portion of a concept.
A horrible name too. My goodness.
Yeah. So they tried it. It didn't work. They yanked it without any notice, like 3 or 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
Redemption Island. Probst is the only person that is in the mix that liked it, because it made everybody afraid to make big moves because somebody might come back, so they'll never do Redemption Island again. Now,
Good.
So they tried stuff, and they tried this, and so I'll give them that they tried something. But when Probst said in EW that he'd do it again, I thought, wow, we're in the entertainment business, just like the NFL and the NBA and reality TV and all TV, really. I don't necessarily, although on season 25, every single person got to talk. And that was the first time in a long, long time where somebody didn't get ignored. And, sometimes people squabbled about it, but not too much.
Right.
But I don't know. I like seeing the weight gain. I like seeing the weight loss and what they look like in real life and what they look like made up without dirt. And, just seeing the whole crop. It's just it was so radically different than we'd all experienced before.
Right.
And then to only talk to 7 of them, I mean, second place didn't get a syllable.
Yeah.
Right.
Fourth place didn't get a syllable. And I thought, second place didn't get a syllable? I thought, wow.
Yeah.
Half of my brain says, Probst and Burnett are brilliant. They created the #1 reality show in the history of the world. Nothing will ever eclipse the longevity and the tenure and the number of fans as Survivor. But the other half of my brain says, boy, I sure loved it a lot better when they had everybody up there.
Yeah.
It just seemed like they were almost done with the season at the 30-minute mark. They were ready to promote everything else Survivor and just about be done with it. What was a great season. I mean, even people before the merge, it was a really good season, and it just seemed like they were saying, okay, Cochran, here's your check, we're done. We got 30 minutes left. Let's go talk to things outside Survivor.
I would have liked to see Shamar's big old giant body next to tiny little Cochran and Sherry up there. I mean, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see how sometime. I remember when Bill, the guy from season 24, the comedian guy, had that wild outfit on. I mean, you get a sense of who they really are in real life, and it's their chance to speak to the world. And really, Probst usually gives the back row a grand total of 2 minutes for the whole back row, and it's fine.
But at least it's 2 minutes.
It's a quick pop here and there, and they could have gotten rid of the 11-year-old girl and the Rudy and the Richard thing, and the Boston Rob thing was applicable until Boston Rob pulled his book out. Then it became too showboaty.
Right.
So, yeah, I didn't like it. Is it a slap in the face? I agree. We contracted, and Denise is right. We did contract. In fact, our contract goes for another year after the final reunion show. But which is why Matt the Beard isn't on the show with us tonight, because there is a contract. He really wanted to join us. And he offers such great perspective. He just is a great guy. So I left what would have been a brilliant season. It would have carried me over until September. I left feeling like half my gut just got ripped out. I mean, I felt so sad. It didn't give me closure on what was a great season.
That's the worst part, is that the season that was great, we have the rest of the summer to remember the last taste in our mouth, which was the loss of a season halfway through the reunion show.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I don't think it's going to ruin the season for me.
Oh, no, not at all.
It was a bad decision, but I still love the last half of the season. I still love post-merge, and I love the way Cochran took the game. I love the way he won the last immunity challenge, because if he hadn't have, I don't think he would have won. It was a great season, and I really enjoyed this season. And I agree. I think CBS made a mistake, and I think they did it because they were trying to take attention away from Brandon not being there. That's what I think they probably did it. And I just think it was a bad decision. But ultimately, to be honest with you, I haven't even watched it.
All right, well, let me make you pick here, Skupin. Which season was better, season 26 or season 24?
Oh, you threw a curveball on me.
I wouldn't dare ask you about a season that you had the front row seat for.
Hey, I wanted to say, I had a thought about that.
See, we wrote ours down for that very reason.
No, I right in the middle of you talking about that, Leslie, I had something great to say. Anyway,
I vote season 26 myself.
I would have been much happier had I not seen the reunion show. And if anybody's listening that hasn't seen the finale or the reunion show, skip the reunion show. It's just a bad ending to a great season. I did love the season, and the reunion show just kind of just got weird. It didn't create what they normally.
You know what it felt like? It felt like we were watching actors that had just finished a movie, to some degree, between Philip and even Cochran joking around a little bit about how he changed and throwing out his Twitter account. I mean, I kind of laughed, but when it got to Philip, I felt like I was watching an actor that just finished a role and was coming out of it and just talking about what he was, and then Rob just added to it, with his book.
Yeah. I mean, do you think Jeff didn't know that Philip was going to say that, and so he made sure that he got his stealth name out there? But
yes,
and obviously the Survivor family loves Boston Rob. I don't think he's got an enemy in the bunch. So the fact that he got to promote his book was no secret either.
Right, right, of course.
Jeff kind of went, "Whoa, boy, that was a shocker." So, season 24 just was too predictable. And my problem with season 24, which is personal, not the show itself, is I only watched the first 5 episodes before I left to film my season.
Oh, okay.
So I had to cram, the last 8 or so episodes into like one night, and so I didn't get a chance to digest or how during the week little things you hear and you read, oh yeah, and you read your podcasts and your blogs, and it helps you think about a lot of different things. I didn't get that chance,
right?
So as I sped through this, I got cheated out of the full experience of it.
Right, that's true.
I want to go back to what you said about not watching the finale. That's actually what has happened to me, and probably why it hasn't affected me like it's affected y'all, because we immediately started recording our recap podcast like right as they announced the winner, and then I edited that night and didn't watch. Well, then I start hearing all this horrible stuff about it, and I started to watch it the next day and just was like, you know what, I don't really want to watch it because there's just so much bad talk about it, and I don't feel like I've missed anything, and I'm glad I haven't seen it, and I don't want to see it.
Yeah, Jeff asked Cochran the same question 3 times. I mean, I'm telling you, I know that there's this morbid curiosity of yours because you're such a fan, to even though you say I'm not going to watch it, this haunting inside your head, I got to know what everybody's screaming about. But you will watch it and you'll say Skupin was right. You'll regret watching.
No, I'm not going to watch it.
That shows how much he doesn't listen to me. I said, Dwaine, for our listeners and for our conversation, you have to watch it on a professional level just so you can talk about it.
And I decided I'm not going to.
He obviously doesn't want to listen to it.
Yeah,
That's okay. You don't even listen to our podcast, David.
And he's happy.
Because I'm here. I'm here with the podcast. Why do I need to listen to the podcast?
I always listen to our podcast. Oh, man, I got to tell you what, guys. I'm tired. And I'm really liking this, but I'm really tired.
I got to give you the biggest compliment ever, both you guys.
Okay.
We got through, a 2-hour podcast without ever mentioning Self or Us. And I could not be more grateful because...
Until you did it.
We did it, though. We did it because I'm counting it. I'm chalking it up. Like, we didn't address it. So let's not address it by me addressing it because, yeah.
I agree, but my thought was, really, we didn't get Matt, we didn't get Laura, we didn't get Allie, but we got a name for Jeff in SRU. Really?
You know what? Because Matt was supposed to be here, we got to talk about the beard. How do we forget the beard?
Oh,
I love the fact that he did his season watching at restaurants and at parties, and to me, that's what Survivor's about. Yeah. Enjoy it. I mean, even after he got voted off, he's still going to these viewing parties, and that's awesome. That's why he's a popular person, and that's why I think he should come back.
His demographic. So we get the black guy, the black girl, the gay, the housewife, the young pretty blonde, the GQ model guy. Usually there's an old person. Is the kind of tattooed, pierced, kind of bearded demographic, the Lex from season 3,
That's as far back as I went was Lex. That was the one that came to my mind.
Who else though? I mean, we've had some tattooed people before. Who else?
Well, no, there was.
Wasn't Zane tattooed?
Yeah, Zane was.
Yes.
So Zane, and he had some funky
But
piercing.
see, that was so short they just blew through our minds. We just completely
Yes.
forgot about Zane.
What about the guy who played with Russell the second time? Big guy, kind of a
Football
redneck.
player?
No, he was a redneck guy, but he kind of struck me in that.
Chicken Man?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, him.
yeah. What's his name? He had that big long goatee.
Right. I
Ralph.
don't remember his
Ralph.
name.
Ralph.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this demographic. Let's look at this demographic for just a second. We got the Lex, the Ralph, the Zane. Colorful bodies because they're all painted up, and really
Yes.
it translates into very colorful characters. We all wanted Zane to stay. We all wanted Matt to stay. I don't remember Ralph and Lex. I mean, Lex made it to the end, but I mean. That's a demographic that you would look at and say they're not going to fit in, but yet we all wanted Matt, we all wanted Zane. So what do you think about that?
See, I picked Matt as a fish out of water. I thought he would go early, and Matt even said in his interview, "Don't judge me by my cover. Don't judge me by that. Once you get to know me, and once you heard him on the show, yeah, I was pulling for him to keep going.
Absolutely. He was one of my favorites.
He was a fan. He was such a nice guy. Even though he got into with it Shamar and got into it with him, it's like he pulled back first. He knew what he was doing was he shouldn't have been doing, and he started playing. And we loved him on this show. We were pulling for him, but I'm sorry, he got stuck on a season against experienced players, and
his lack of experience showed when he clung to Michael.
Right.
It wasn't the merge; it was the swap, right?
Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I forgot to ask you. What do you think Probst was thinking after the egg swap? And he looked at the two tribes and said, "All right, we need some puzzles and we need some crayons and books because anything physical is not going to work."
I mean, Probst will say it over and over. He goes, "I used to care about those things, and it used to really bug me about the even up." And he said, "You know what? I stopped caring because it all works its way out." But the problem is, if you were on the bad egg tribe,
yeah,
your opportunity to advance in the game came to a screeching halt.
Right.
So
right.
that little twist so severely impacted the game for some people.
Right.
Laura's demographic come post-merge, she kind of makes it far in most cases because she's a non-threat.
That's why I picked her.
Matt, post-merge, he's not an offensive guy. There's way more people that would go off before Matt does. So, it's Survivor, and it just is. But somehow, some way, in their effort to be as random as possible, sometimes that happens and it blows the game out for somebody. And it's, you got to really turn on your A game when that happens, because if your tribe's getting decimated, how do you stay? How do you survive?
See, I thought Michael also got the short end of the stick because he's a fan, seems like a real fan, and he just had no chance. He was outnumbered and outgunned from the other side, and it's almost like, what is he going to do? What can he do? Okay, you want to take Matt first? Good, take Matt first.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up because, I don't know how you do it. There's a way we're not going to figure it out on this podcast, but to make it random and have it be so lopsided made every challenge completely anticlimactic. It made the boot order.
Right.
That's why the first half of the season was awful. And the second half of the season, when the playing field leveled and it became a merge, was so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, before we go, I want to go back to Matt for just a second. He reminds me of that commercial. I think it's a Blue Cross Blue Shield commercial or something where this big biker is getting all of his health care done so he can go cook in the cooking class. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of Matt, You see Matt, you're like, I don't know if I want to meet that guy on the road.
Yeah, if
then
he's
when
still
you talk
listening,
to him, he's like, oh, he's so hilarious. He's just wonderful.
Yeah,
if he's still listening, we're going to bully him onto this show sooner or later.
Yeah,
he
he's
was
got
a
to come.
professional BMX, ride the rails
Yeah.
on his bike. So, I mean, I don't know if his athletic ability translated into Survivor challenges that well, but, you know, if they had the ramps out there and some rails, they would have been all over.
Or give him a microphone and music, because he's got a band too, and he's got music out. And
That's right.
And his wife is whoa.
I haven't seen her.
Yeah,
is it Tessa or Tess? I think is her
his
name.
wife is a whoa. Like, you know, like you'd look at him and you would expect something very different, and it's like whoa. Yeah.
Well, David and I can relate to that because our wives are woes compared to us too. So
That's right. Yeah.
I think that
Definitely
kinda
married
happens.
up. We
Yes.
married up.
But you know what? Don't we all marry up anyway? Isn't that kind of the way
It's
it works?
good to be married to a whoa. Woes are good.
Yes,
You know, I think
it
we
is.
all. I think we all married woes.
Yes. Well, everybody, it's been a lot of fun. We're right at about 2 hours, and we just
We
want to
always
remind.
go 2 hours. Like, what's wrong with us?
I know.
We have too
A
much
bunch
fun.
of women. We just can't stop talking. I'm going to get some letters for that one.
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, that's all right, man. We're 2 hours in. You know, 80% of the people bummed out a long time ago. So
They fell asleep at the merge, so they're
Yeah.
good.
So, Skupin, don't forget when you want to shop on Amazon to use our link.
Where do
Survivor
I
Talk
find
with-
that link when I forget?
You can just go to our website.
We'll
It's
put
all
it
over
in
the place
we'll
on
put
our
it in
website.
our Facebook chat. You can get it off that too.
Well,
Yeah.
he's not a member of our Facebook group,
He's
but
in our man
what?
cave. He's in our man cave.
well,
No, you-
yeah.
Send
You
me a
should
link.
join our Facebook group.
I'm not in your. I'm like, find those guys. Find Dwaine Dave on Facebook because they're having this podcast tonight. And yeah, I'm going on Facebook right
All right,
now.
it's facebook.com/groups/Survivor Talk,
I don't know, Dwayne. Do we want to let him in?
and then you can ask to join.
I'm coming in from both my accounts, Michael Skupin and Michael Skupin 2.
All right.
I'm going on there too.
Our top link on our Facebook group, our top post is a link to Amazon. All right. Or you can just go to survivortalkwithdnd.com/Amazon, or just survivortalkwithdnd.com, and there's Amazon search windows and everything. You read David's blog, don't you?
I do.
There's always an Amazon link at the top of his blog.
I follow everything. I keep a close eye on you guys.
So if you want to shop Amazon, just go to David's blog and hit the Amazon
Well, it
link.
takes two eyes to follow me, so might keep both of them open.
Yeah. While y'all are doing that, guess what? A little shooting the breeze here before we end.
Okay.
Skupin, we do shooting the breeze at the end of our podcast now, a lot of the times. But I ordered new
Wait,
glasses.
You're a closed group.
Yes, you have to ask to join.
Holy mackerel! This is like an elite group here.
All you
That's
gotta
right.
do is just go add me to the group, and David's gonna add you within like 2 seconds.
I just added Nancy. So that's cool.
Yes.
You know Nancy. I had coffee with Nancy last week.
What?
Yeah.
The
You're
Nancy
gonna
that
have
just
coffee with
joined?
us.
Yeah.
Hey,
Nancy
you need to-
Legault?
Yeah.
Really?
Why don't you just fly
She
me
just
and
got a
David
shout
up
out
to
on
where
our
you
podcast?
live? Just fly me and David up to where you live, and we'll have coffee with you.
I don't even drink coffee, and I'll have coffee with you.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee either, but I will drink coffee with you.
I would love that. All
All right,
So
did you ask to join the group?
I
Yep.
did.
I'm putting
All right.
putting this first one in right now.
All right.
Be
And
prepared
I'm-
for questions, and you better answer them as much as you answer your Twitter, because they're going to come.
All right, baby.
So I'm getting new glasses, and they look like y'all's glasses. That's pretty incredible because I've
Welcome
been
to
wearing
the
these
Glasses Amigos.
I've been wearing these things,
You
And I'm
shop
going-
at the same dollar store that we do?
I got them on coastal.com, so we'll see how they do. They're coming from Canada, Coming from Canada,
So am I a member now? Does it?
I don't know. Did
Yeah,
you? Add,
I'm
did
about
you?
to welcome you right now.
By the way, music for tonight's show is "Giving You All Control" by Jeremy Camp. I had to say that, Although every time I've ever tried to tweet Jeremy Camp or say anything, he never responds. I don't know if he even knows that his music is on our podcast. I just know that his guitar player said I could do it, so That's what I did.
And we hope that was his guitar player.
Yeah. He said, this is what he told me a year and a half ago. He said, as long as y'all don't get, like, Gervais popular, then we'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais popular, we'll be okay.
Can you see the page now?
I'm in, baby.
Awesome.
In like plan.
Cool.
Cool. Well, there you go. Now you'll get all kinds of annoying notifications.
How about that? How about that for on-air action? He's surfing our Facebook page during our podcast.
Yes. You know what we have successfully done during this podcast? Taken my laptop battery from 80% to 12.
You must have a Mac.
I do. I have a Mac Retina, 13-inch Mac Retina display. I love it.
Because PC batteries, after about a year, you can't even boot the computer up.
You know Kathy too, don't you?
Yeah, Kathy. Oh yeah, Kathy Trantham's in there. Yeah, she. I know she's listening, and I just joined you again with my other Facebook page.
So
yeah,
now
she's already liked my welcoming you.
Oh, she did. Oh yeah, she's awesome. She's a fanaholic. I mean, she critiques my critiques.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets it, and she wants to be on Amazing Race because she doesn't want to eat bugs and she wants to sleep in a bed. But
we just got a tweet from Kathy. Mike Survivor Talk and Mike Skupin. I am one who hung in there. Victory. Only closed eyes twice. She's one of the 7 who is still listening.
She's a Zumba freako. She's
really?
That's how she's training for Survivor and Amazing Race.
Awesome.
And I told her on her video to get her husband to do Zumba, and she thought that would just be hilarious to watch her husband do Zumba.
Well, that's my diet right now, is getting into my Survivor body. Just when he calls, last minute, I'll be ready to go.
I'm sorry.
Come on. Help me here, brother. Help me. Support Dwaine, not laughter. Support.
The other day, this is horrible. I should not tell you all this.
That weight bench in the garage is getting more clean every day. I'm getting closer and closer to getting it cleaned off. So.
The other day, I was getting ready after I got out of the shower, and you kind of put on your underwear and everything. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I went, "There ain't no way I'd ever go on Survivor." That's so embarrassing, but it's so true. I was like, how in the world would I pull this off? There is no way.
Yeah. You. Somebody said, I was talking to this 13-year-old kid, and his mom's trying for Survivor. He goes, "But Mom, then I'm going to have to read everybody making fun of you on Twitter."
That's right.
Yep, that's part of it.
That's right.
Yep, that's part of it.
There's just some things about Survivor that would not agree with me. I would be the one that used the wrong leaf.
What is that, beach burn? Is that beach butt?
Oh, man. I mean, can you just imagine how miserable it would be? Oh, goodness.
Yeah, get Lisa Welch on your show, and she'll give you a first-hand account of that one.
Oh, woof. Oh, boy. All right. Do you have any final words, David, before I ask Mr. Skupin if he has any final words? This was fun, I know that.
Well, hopefully when anything comes out next season, you'll probably be blogging again or something. Maybe we can get your preseason thoughts on what's going. Well, who was your pick this season to win? Do you remember your preseason pick?
No.
Well, he told us because we had him on the show to ask him.
Yeah, you did ask, and I don't remember what I said.
I think you said Brenda. I think you agreed with me.
Wait.
I think it might have been Brenda.
Remember every single thing we asked him? It took him 15 minutes to answer? Remember?
That's why they were 2 hours. Now at least we fill in the gaps in between.
Yeah, this was a little more fair and balanced. He didn't have as many advantages this time.
I think we said, "Who's your final 3?" and he just went on forever. I remember that.
We put him on the spot.
I wanted to win.
Yes. Oh man. Oh boy.
Yeah,
well, I gotta tell you, it was fun talking to you tonight. I really enjoyed this season. I'm looking forward to the next season. And I do want to thank everybody who is still listening, that you do listen to us. It's pretty awesome. This is our 3rd season. Do what, David?
Thank you, Kathy, for staying on.
Yes. It's Kathy and 6 other people. Assuming David's still not on YouTube.
No, I'm not.
But this will be an audio podcast, and the video will be available also on YouTube. So, but seriously, this is our third season, and it's pretty awesome to do this. And during the summer, David and I are going to do like shooting the breeze stuff during the summer, Skupin, where we just talk about odds and ends. We actually have a plan. Yes, we actually have a plan to call my dad at one point, and get him to tell some funny stories about when he was younger, because my dad's a hoot.
And what he thinks about Survivor.
I love that. Well, I'm in with you guys, so just keep me posted. Now that I've got Google Plus, I can get on these multiple people podcasts.
That's right.
There you go.
And video.
Yeah, we can hang out in the man cave.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, we do have a man cave that nobody knows about, like a real man cave where we share manly thoughts.
And pictures and everything else you post to try and scare us.
Oh, my goodness. I've never seen so many pictures of a toothless woman in my life.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, what happens in the man cave stays in the man cave.
Sorry. Sorry.
Look,
well, if that's the case, I got some pictures I can post for you. Just a second. Oh, all right, Skupin, you got anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I think we've said everything. Thank God Survivor is still happening.
Yes.
It looks like we're going to see returning player season this summer.
Yeah.
At least in some capacity. And, I'm all about, like I said, the all super fan, just crazy fanatic people that really get it. Because everybody will think they should win, and the first person who gets voted off will be absolutely floored. And so, I look forward to it. We got a stretch of, 5 months before we see Survivor again? 4 months?
I know.
Hey, let me give I'm gonna give Kathy one more shout out since she's still listening. She did say yes, Skupin, it was Brenda, because she critiqued that when you made that pick, and she's also offered to teach me Zumba. So we're ready to go. She's gonna get me ready.
Hey, I can do Zumba too.
We'll do a Zumba on this video. Kathy, get Google Plus.
A Zumba hangout.
We can put a fourth little screen here.
Yeah. Have you seen the size of my closet? It's very small.
I don't own spandex, so I don't.
Now she's telling us to say goodnight. I think she's agreeing that it's going on and on.
All right. I'm going to push the end broadcast button, and then we will say our goodbyes that no one else hears.
Thanks, Mike.